Now, it is firmly that time of the footballing year again. The January transfer window is reaching its climax. In fact, it's deadline day today. Rumours and news and potential new signings are flying about everywhere. The one man who's been able to pick through all the discourse over the last few years is Fabrizio Romano. Him and his catchphrase seem to be there anytime, whenever any sort of transfer news is going on. Most would believe this guy in any situation for any news. We are gathered here today to mourn the loss of Janine. I can't believe it. Honestly, part of me thinks that she's not even gone. Janine to heaven, 20 million euros confirmed. Yeah, nah, she's gone. But having been accused of stealing other journalists' work when it comes to exclusive transfer news, just how reliable is Fabrizio Romano?
Here we go.
My Twitter notifications are going to be a mess after this one, because if there's one thing an overly aggressive year 12 with an Arsenal footballer as their profile picture loves, it's Fabrizio Romano. But for those that don't know, let me guide you through who Fabrizio is. He's an Italian journalist who sort of rose to prominence during the signing of Paul Pogba to Manchester United. A lot of United fans were looking for concrete evidence or concrete news about Paul Pogba returning home. It was one of those intergalactic signings that just had everybody talking for months and months on end. Obviously, you had high-profile agent Mino Raiola involved in the deal too, and in the end, Fabrizio Romano was the one who broke some of the stories. He does a lot of work for Sky Italia, but he's done some writing as well for people like The Guardian too. And just generally speaking, he's built himself a bit of a brand, really, as a journalist who's going to be able to provide all the news when it comes to transfers as soon as it happens. You know, he's the sort of go-to guy. And not only that, he tends to interact a lot on social media as well. He's very active on Twitter, obviously, and he does live streams over on Twitch too. A lot of the ways in which he finds out information about transfers is keeping hold of, important contacts at various different clubs, and also, having contacts with hotels and restaurants that players go to when they're about to discuss like personal terms at Manchester United, for example. During a transfer window, he's known for basically not getting any sleep whatsoever. The guy has to work hard getting up from his daily 36-minute nap, and apparently gets over 50 phone calls a day, whether that be from agents or sources or clubs or players. He has a little bit less sympathy when he's involved in the middle of an exclusive scoop, and his wife calls him and asks what he wants for dinner.
And I went, fuck off, and put the phone down.
It's mad to think, does the guy even get like any time off? Any time to relax, do some social things, go out on the town? To be honest, even if he went to a nightclub, he'd still somehow manage to get some kind of exclusive scoop. And I think the fact that he puts a lot of time and work and effort into keeping people updated during a transfer window cannot go unnoticed at all. I don't think that can be argued against. He's always off and about. He's always trying to learn, harangue people for scoops and all that jazz. But in a world of footballing transfers that can change so quickly, for example, Danjuma, literally just this window, agreeing to sign for Everton, signing most of the paperwork, being involved in a photo shoot and then deciding, yeah, nah, these lot of shit, and then going to Spurs is something that a lot of people probably weren't able to predict in the journalism industry. And I think a lot of people therefore question how Fabrizio actually gets his information. Now, I want to preface this video, to be honest with you, we're about halfway through. I want to preface this by saying I do actually like Fabrizio Romano. I am a trained journalist. I have my degree rotting away somewhere in an attic. And I like the fact that he's built a brand by being a journalist. But just, this month, Joao Felix, who ended up going to Chelsea on loan from Atletico, had been linked with Arsenal and Manchester United, both of which definitely did want to sign him. And Fabrizio decided to go on to Mark Goldbridge's channel and talk to Mark about the chances of Joao signing for the Red Devils.
I think I would keep the Felix situation open for United, for Arsenal in the end, because it depends on Atletico Madrid more than on United. He's completely different player, so it will be an opportunity to add more quality and to give Ten Hag a different kind of player for the second part of the season. So I would keep it open. But what I can say again for sure, and what we said also here last week, is that Man United will not pay 19 or 18 million euros for a 6-month loan for Joao Felix. They have a very good relationship with Atletico Madrid, but they are not going to pay that money.
So it's still a possibility whilst
I would keep it open. Yes, I would keep it open. I think Man United will remain informed on this story, for sure. Man United and Arsenal. These two clubs told Jorge Mendes, let us know if there is something different on Atletico Madrid.
Now, during this 2-minute clip, he didn't once mention the fact that Joao Felix could sign for Chelsea, or that the Blues were even interested in bringing him in. 30 minutes later, and there was the announcement that he was gonna sign for Chelsea. Now, if he'd have known that that was actually gonna be the case, he would have mentioned it in this stream. Goldbridge himself was not too pleased with the news. And look, Fabrizio gets stuff wrong as well. He reported on an Adrian Rabiot move to Barcelona for £10 million a year, which of course never ended up happening. He said that Sergio Reguilon was guaranteed to be signing for Manchester United, but instead the Spaniard signed for Tottenham. Thomas Partey's move to Arsenal was a big one because he quite frequently reported on the fact that Thomas would not be leaving Atletico Madrid, despite the fact that Ghanaian did have a release clause at Atletico that Arsenal could quite easily trigger at any time. But look, at the end of the day, you can't get everything right, do you know what I mean? As a journalist, you're gonna hear things from sources that you think are reliable and they might come back as wrong, but he clearly is well informed in other regards, like with the Marc Cucurella deal, where he managed to pull Brighton's pants down so much that as a country, the UK almost decided to cut off the entire city just for the embarrassment. Then when we realised how much Brighton had fleeced Chelsea for him, we brought them back. How they got 50 mil, I'm just never gonna know. But what I would say about Fabrizio is what he tweets is absolutely not a problem at all. The guy is an exceptional journalist with really good sources and generally speaking very engaging and knows, as I said, how to build a brand on social media. The problem more than anything is he keeps nabbing stuff.
I know that ain't who I think it is.
Fabrizio Romano does not tweet out rumours or little bits of speculation. He tweets out things that are pretty much guaranteed to be the case. It's just that he's not always the first person to have found out about them. When he tweeted last year that Arsenal were very keen to get rid of Spanish right-back Hector Bellerin, that piece of exclusive information came a month and a half after a guy called James Benge broke the story. Piece of information that were brought across as exclusives about Tyrell Malacia's move to Manchester United had been getting reported a month earlier over in the Netherlands. Speaking of the Netherlands, and the Telegraph over there accused him of plagiarism and stealing from Ajax reporters by cutting and pasting a report about Anthony missing training ahead of his move to Manchester United. They basically claimed a guy called Mike Vervey, who works very closely with Ajax and has a lot of sources inside the club, had basically gotten a story that Anthony had missed training and hadn't turned up, tweeted about it, and then 2 minutes later, Fabrizio Romano had put out the same tweet, calling it an exclusive by himself. Now, obviously, both of them may have just been told by the same source at a pretty similar time what was going on, but obviously, if someone else has exclusively shared that news, then it ain't an exclusive anymore. But he was, in fairness, the first to break the story of Ajax being interested in a young fullback called Owen Wijndal and the new deal they'd given to Jurrien Timber. So he does clearly have some good contacts in the Dutch game. Again, though, when he was called out on using aggregator pages as sources by a writer from The Athletic, because basically I think this United fan page had tweeted out something that a journalist had gone and got from an interview out in Spain, and Fabrizio Romano had used that sort of fan news pages tweet as his own source instead of going out and getting the quote himself, if that makes sense. His tweets on Luis Diaz came after a highly rated Liverpool-based journalist by the name of Paul Joyce had broken the story already. Here we can see Fabrizio scanning through all the journalists on his timeline to nab stories from. And I'll be honest, like, he gets called out by fellow journalists every now and again. And look, journalists, look, we all love a little bit of drama. That's what we're all in for.
It's all the drama, Mick. I just love it.
But more often than not, they will tend to keep it pretty professional on the timeline. So the fact that it happens like semi-regularly in itself is a bit of a sign that other journalists are kind of fed up with his methods. Regardless, the guy is a sensational journalist and he does know his stuff, but he feels like he can, and to be honest with you, does get away with kind of just nabbing the odd story from smaller journalists that we don't know about. Again, another example was Jadon Sancho news, which was originally reported by a guy called Cy Stone. Again, another journalist had to point out the fact that he'd got that information from somebody else, basically. A lot of the stuff that he was tweeting about Erling Haaland came originally from David Ornstein, but in fairness, when it comes to David Ornstein and some of the other like major journalists, he does give them a shout out. He'll say, right, this information was first broken by X journalist, whatever, and he accepts the fact that he's just sort of bringing that news to his followers as well, which is fine, and I like that. You know, working with other journalists is calm. It's just a shame that he doesn't do that all of the time. What I'm trying to say is basically Fabrizio Romano is a journalist at first, but also a news like aggregator at second. And what I mean by that is basically some of the stuff that you will see on his page is just things that have been broken by other people that he's just putting onto one page. So for what it's worth, the stuff that you will see on his profile, you know, Fabrizio's profile, is gonna be stuff that's probably very much gonna confirmed. Because whilst he does know a lot of stuff, far more than any of us, it's impossible to know everything. He is great though, to be fair. I think just the hype that he builds up during a transfer window alone is great. The guy could tweet about Prime going up to £150 in Wakey Wines, and we'd lap it up, all of us. I think he's the perfect person to follow for if you want to know every transfer that's happening. But if you want like breaking news and you want someone that is actually going to be the first person to find out about everything, then there are other people and other journalists out there that I would definitely recommend. Now, another thing I can recommend that you do is like this video if you did enjoy, and of course subscribe if you are new to the channel. Let me know what you think about Fabrizio down in the comments section below. Once again, I do love the guy, and I love his brand in terms of hyping up transfers and stuff. I just think that he does get away with stealing content every now and again. You can follow me on social media as well. It is at @theofficialfng over on Twitter and on Insta. It's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.